So when I got the Evo, it came with quite a few modifications, and one of the modifications was that it's got an aftermarket ECU from a company called MaxxECU based here in Sweden. And one of the cool things with MaxxECU is that they also have their own Android Dash app that allows you to kind of view and monitor and trigger things and stuff from a tablet in the car. So I thought, why don't we have a go at making a full-on custom digital dash? So if you do a search online and look at MaxxECU Dash, you'll see quite a few pictures of people running 8-inch or 10-inch tablets around the center console. So you end up looking like you've got a Tesla, which nobody wants. And I don't see the point in having all those gauges and all that information not in view, because you don't want to be driving around, especially if you go on a racetrack. Not that I really go on a racetrack, but if you go on a racetrack, you don't want to be constantly looking down at your center console to see what your fuel injectors are doing, or what your lambda is running at, or what your air fuel ratio and so on is. You don't want to bother doing that. You want it to be right in front of your face. So I thought I will basically get rid of the stock dash in the Evo. I will make up some LEDs, buy some LEDs to replace the warning lamps and things to keep it road legal. Obviously you don't need it road legal and you don't have to bother with that step. And I will make a blank up for where the stock Speedo used to live, and then I will mount up my tablet to essentially be my dashboard, and the MaxxECU Dash will be my dash. So for this project, you will need the following. Well, depends if you want to do what I'm doing, but we've got our Brodit passive holder for the Lenovo Tab 8. Brodit are hands down the best tablet and phone car holder manufacturers on the planet. There's just no argument. So it had to be one of those. Brilliant piece of kit. We'll have a look at that more in detail when we get round to it. We've got an Amazon special 12 volt to 5 volt USB power converter to provide power to our tablet. And we've got a secondary USB cable here that's got a neater connection on it for the tablet being mounted in the car. We've got, that's another Amazon special, we've got our 2x2 twill 2mm thick carbon fibre sheet there, which we're going to use for our dash blank. And then we've got our Lenovo M8 tablet here, which came from NetOnNet here in Sweden. And if we turn it on, we can just have a quick look at the Dash app. And I think this is the default Dash app. So there you go. Got everything on there and you can configure it. I'm not going to bother much with configuring the Dash app in this video because there's plenty of tutorials online and you can customize it any way you want. You can also use Real Dash and other kind of digital dash apps if you want to. Doesn't matter. Once you've got it in the car, you can do what you want with it. Great fun. One thing that is missing is the LEDs. I don't have them. I ordered them today from Italy once I worked out what I needed. So they may or may not arrive for this video. So this video will focus mainly on just getting the actual dash in, and maybe it'll have to be a follow-up video for the LEDs. We will see how we get on. So the first thing we need to do, notice the t-shirt change. There'll be many of those in the video, and probably facial hair growth and things and removal, because I film these videos over several days, weeks, months sometimes. The first thing we need to do is we need to take out these stock clocks basically, and on the Evo it's very easy, like most things on the interior, to remove and adjust things. So we need to take out the kind of cowl that covers the Speedo, and then we need to take out the Speedo clocks themselves. And then if you want the car to be road legal like I do, then we're going to tap into the stock dash plugs. We're going to tap into the pins of those plugs to take feeds for things like the main beam, side lights, indicators, handbrake, low fuel, fog light, things like that. So I've already made a start on this, and I wanted to make sure I wanted this video to be as efficient as possible. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing it right and that I was kind of getting the right information for the video. So we'll pick up the action with the Speedo and stuff already removed, but I will show you how to remove it. It's very easy, like I say. And then we'll do the last bit of wiring, and I'll show you how I've done the wiring and stuff. So let's jump in. Okay, so here we are in the car. Say I've already taken the dash out. It's very, very easy on the Evo to remove the dash. So we've got our stock dash here. And you can see that there's just 4 holes for bolts here. And that's 2 down here, and then there's 2 up here. So all you need to do, once you've taken the cowling off, is just remove those 4 bolts, and then the dash just pulls out. So you've got to jiggle it a little bit and then just pull it clean out the car. And that is that. It's as easy as that. And the cowling, which is the bit that kind of fits in front of the dash like this, that is just 2 screws here at the top. So you just remove those 2 screws from there, and then you just pop it out, and then you can get to the screws for the dash itself, and then get that out and you're done. And then what you're presented with when you've done that is these are the 2 connectors here, and you can see that I've already ran a lot of wires here, and I'll just talk you through what these wires are. But we've got 1 wire left to do, which is the power wire. So I'll just talk you through the wires first, and then we'll just solder in and finish the power wire, and then put these things back into place, and then that is that little job done. So all you need to do this is a couple of screwdrivers. So we're going to be working on this one here. So you just pop your screwdriver in between the black plastic and the blue plastic, and just give it a little twist, and then it pops out like that, and then you can just pull it free. And then you just need to get the wires out from behind the little holder there, and then there you go, we're out. And then it's same on the top. Put the screwdriver behind, hopefully this comes out in the video okay, and then just pull it free and just get the wires out the way, and you can see we're done. So on the stock brown connector, which is the top connector, that is where you've got your, for me it's the fuel gauge. So that is the 3rd pin from top right is the fuel gauge, which is a red and white wire. And then if you look here, we've got 3rd pin in from top left is this one, I believe, which is the left indicator. I'm glad I put labels on all these. So that wire there is the 3rd pin in. And then if we flip this over, so bottom, the very end pin on the bottom, which is the red wire, is the indicator right wire. And you can basically take an earth from the front cross beam here for the dash. So that's what I'm going to do for the LEDs. So that is that one. We've only got 3 that we're taking from the brown connector. The blue connector, we're taking lots from the blue connector. So the blue connector here, if you look, so it sits this way around like this. So we have taken the 2nd pin in, which is this one here. So that is the low fuel level warning lamp there. So that's the 2nd pin. And then we've taken the 5th and 6th pin up there, which is illumination. So the 5th pin is illumination plus, which is when the dash lights up when you put your lights on, and then the 6th pin is illumination minus. And you need to use the plus and the minus, not just the plus, because it doesn't work if you try to earth it from elsewhere. So you need to use the plus and minus for that. And then if we flip it over to this side, we've got the top 3 here that we've used, and the top 3 here are doing the parking brake is the first one. Sorry, I'm getting a bit confused with the wiring here. We've got the parking brake is the 3rd one. So the 3rd one from the right top is the parking light for the handbrake. And then we've got pin 1 here, which is the main beam plus, and then we've got pin 2, which is main beam minus. And again, just like the illumination, you need to use the plus and the minus for your LED, otherwise it won't work. So that's what we've got there for those. And then the final one that we're going to use here is this one down here at the bottom, which is the ignition live. So that's the one I'm going to use to tap in for my USB cable. So I'll show you now how to take the pins out. Obviously, you could just piggyback onto these with those kind of cable connectors. That's very quick and easy, but I don't really like them. I don't think they work, and it's very cramped here too. So I've stripped the wire already back, which is basically just cutting around it with a knife and then just stripping back the wire by kind of scooping it off and then pulling it from around. So let us get this pin out, and then we can get this soldered into place, get it shielded, and then get it pressed back in. So there's 2 things you need to do when you're doing this. First thing is you need to take off the blue surround here, and that is just a couple of clips that hold that in. So we need our little screwdriver. So there's 4 clips that are holding it round. You've got 1 on each side, 1 top and bottom. So we just need to pop the clips out, which is easier said than done with one hand. So there we go. So that's that free, and you need to get that free so you can get to these here. So you've got this white kind of shield here that is keeping the wires held in place. So to get that out, you just need to put your little screwdriver and push in and up on this white section there, and then push in and up on this white section there, and then this just pulls out so you can get to your cables. The final thing you need to do is between the little ends of the spade there and the kind of flat wire bit here, if you push in with a little screwdriver, that'll release the pin so that you can then pull the pin free, and then you just need to shut that down so you can pull it out. And there you go, that's the wire out. So let's get that soldered, and then we can push it back in, put this back in place, put the blue thing back on, and then get all the wiring tidied away, and we are good to go on to the next step. So now we've got our dash out of the car and we've got our wires in place. I might add more wires later on. Again, I might do that in another video. We will see when the LEDs arrive, just to add in more telltales. But anyway, the next step is we need to start making up a template for our dash blank that's going to house the tablet and that's going to house the LEDs and stuff. We need to make that up, and as luck would have it, I've already started to make one out of cardboard here, and I've tested it because I didn't want this video to be too long. So this is going to sit behind the shroud or the binnacle kind of cover here. There's our original Speedo, and yeah, this has got on it, I've marked up rough measurements of where things need to go, the size of this and so on. So now that we've got that and I kind of know that it's going to work okay, we need to cut that out of the carbon, and then we can kind of test fit the carbon, make sure we're happy with it, and then we're probably going to have to make some adjustments to the cowl, sadly, because it's not perfectly flat, and we're going to need to work out how to mount the carbon to the cowl or to the car. But first things first, let's get the carbon cut down to size. So we are back inside now, and I've trimmed the panel a little bit, smoothed off the edges, trimmed the bottom a bit more, just tested it in the car just to see what it looks like to save doing that on the video. But this is pretty much the final shape that we're going to go with, and all we're going to do now is slot it in on the car, see how it looks, and then I will separately work out the brackets that I need to make. But I'm going to make 4 brackets. I'm going to make 2 at the top that are going to sit on the outside of the carbon, that are going to use the original top Speedo holes, screw holes, and then I'm going to make 2 at the bottom that are going to sit behind the panel, and they are going to be using the original bottom holes. So basically, if we slide this into place like that, you can see I've been really lucky with this. It doesn't always work this way, but on this occasion, the extra space that I've done around and the way I've trimmed this and so on, it's actually sat on the internals of the dash. So that is already totally solid, not going anywhere. And if we fit up the cowling, the cover, the binnacle cover, that fits perfectly. So what a result that is. Not often that happens, but it's great when it does. Take the win. Bit of a gap at the top, bit of a gap at the bottom, but I'll fill that in with some foam padding and you'll never notice that that was there. So I can now go make my brackets, and then we'll come back in a second after SpongeBob, and we will just test fit it up with the brackets, and then we're pretty much done really. I'm going to leave the LED light holes for now, and I'm going to then mount up the brackets for the Brodit and mount up the hole, also drill the hole for the cable to run through, and we can wire the cable in and stuff. So we are getting there.
A few moments later.
Right, we're back now with our brackets made. Obviously I need to finalise these and clean them up and stuff when they finally go on the car. But we've got these two brackets here which fit on the bottom here, and then we've got these two brackets here which fit on the top, and the top ones just press and hold the carbon in, and the bottom ones the carbon actually bolts to. So if we get these fitted up now, you'll see what I mean, and then that's that bit done for now, and we can focus on the actual tablet. So there we are, carbon properly held in place, going absolutely nowhere. We're all good. So I'm going to just remove this now, and then we will start looking at how we're going to fit the tablet. So the original plan was to use the Brodit, and that is your part number there, 711270. So I was going to mount this, put the tablet in place like that, and then this was going to mount with some spacers onto the carbon like that, and basically it would have looked something like that. That's how it would have looked. But while I was mucking about with this and kind of testing things out, I just really didn't like the way that it's A, sat so far away from the carbon, and B, it just feels like a GPS. It feels like it's kind of stuck on, which I didn't want. So what I've decided to do while mucking around was this tablet actually will fit like that within the confines of the shroud itself, flat. And I was going to Velcro it in and just run the power lead, and we would have been good to go. But then I thought, actually, why don't I take this one step further and actually cut out from the carbon the space for the tablet, and then build up a little kind of background behind the carbon so that the tablet can sit flush in the carbon, and then it just looks like a seamless kind of dash basically. So that is the solution I think I'm going to go for, and it will probably look something, here's one I made earlier, something like this. So you're going to have that kind of sat on there like that, and then you're going to have that on there like that. So that is kind of the idea that I'm going for. So we need to make some measurements, which I'm not going to video, and me mucking about with the carbon for a little bit just to get depth right and stuff, but then we'll pick up the action with me started to cut things out and get things ready. Unfortunately, I put these holes too high up for the bottom brackets, and they were visible just in the corners. So this piece of carbon is useless to me now, so I need to make another piece anyway, which means I have got a spare bit to play around with, which is always useful, I think. Okay, so we're back now with our little cutout. This is the spare. I've made a second one of these that I will then do the final kind of cutout for the tablet on when I'm happy with it. But that is now cut out, much mucking about to get that perfect. So the plan is 5mm nylon spacers on a bigger piece of carbon behind, and then this should just drop on like that. So this is all we're going to see now of the dash in the car. Only problem is you can't power on a tablet that's switched off, but you can power off a tablet that's switched on. So because that is sadly the case, I'm going to have a little play around with a little recess here for the power button to see if I can come up with a neat solution for that, so I can get a finger in and press the power on or off if the car's sat for a long time. If that looks shit, then I'll probably just leave it like this, and then if I know that the car's going to be off the road for any length of time, I'll just have to sort of pop out the dash and kind of just pry out the tablet just to charge it or just to power it off, which is a bit shit, but unfortunately there might not be a better solution. I don't want to muck about with trying to hardwire in a secondary button to the power button itself, because that's just a whole different ball game. I don't want to have to kind of pry this open and muck about with it. So I'm going to do that now, see how that works, and then we'll come back with hopefully the final carbon front done, and then we can get making the backing for it and kind of bond things together and kind of get that structure made.
1 hour later.
I've cracked it. So with a little tiny recess up here, it's like a fingernail sized recess where the power button is, you can get your finger in to turn the power on and off of the tablet. So this, I think, is my final design for the faceplate, and I've also decided that rather than making a big panel to go behind the carbon that's kind of bigger than the area, I don't need that because the panel itself is going to be proud of the carbon, so it's not going to be able to move around. So providing that it's got a bit of Velcro on the back of it, and providing that the back plate is just there to sort of give it the kind of like finite depth, don't need to do any more than that. So I can just make a little neat sort of carbon panel, sort of like that big, which will not foul on the camera and stuff, and will mean that there's kind of air to the back of the tablet and what have you. So there we go. So I'm not going to bother videoing me cutting out for the tablet on the new panel, which is this one here, all ready to go. I'm going to go and get that done. So I will just crack on with basically building this together. So it's just going to be with epoxy, just making the pieces fit together. So it's going to be the spacers, and then it's going to be the back panel, just kind of bonding them and then kind of letting them set, and then we can come back and hopefully get it into the car and have a look, see how it looks, and then do the final bits and pieces like fit the power supply for the tablet and stuff. So get in there.
Tomorrow.
Another day, another t-shirt. So this is our back plate now, all done. I've scuffed up where the spacers need to go. This is 7mm spacers because I need to take into allowance the Velcro. Whoops. Where's the other one? There it is. So now we can start to epoxy those up to the base plate, and then I need to trim the bottom ones off because the bottom ones aren't full, and then we can hopefully bond on the front plate and we are good to go, I think.
Next morning.
Righty then, we are done. It is, well, I say we're done, we're almost done. It is set now with the epoxy, all looking good. I have tidied up my little brackets that will go to hold this in place, although it kind of doesn't really need it, but belts and braces. So just going to peel off this cover now, and then it's a case of fitting the Velcro. So remember that these are 7mm spacers, and you're probably talking 8 and a bit mil with the glue. So if you're doing the same thing as me, obviously on an Evo. So with this in place, which is 3mm, that should make the tablet sit pretty much flush, just slightly raised. So yeah, let's get this on. Let's get this off, then let's get this on, and then we can drop the tablet in and see how it looks, and then it's on to power supply. Right, I've removed the tablet now, just while I do other things. So we are getting there, pretty much. I have hung the tablet up there, you can see it, with Velcro on the wall, living dangerously. Hopefully it doesn't fall on the floor, we will see. I'm gonna just wire up now the USB cable into the car and also the head onto the USB cable. I'm not explaining that very well, but the reason why is because if you look at where the tablet sits here, that is the area I've got to play with there, and it's really, really tight. So normal USB plugs are really fat and chunky with all the rubber and plastic on them. So I've stripped one back to bare metal underneath, luckily, and here it is. I have just shrink wrapped it in blue so I can see it when it's behind the dash, and I don't have to pull the dash out if I lose it, if I'm doing anything with the tablet. So just need to wire that in, which is just 2 wires. It's the red and the black wire, which I think is pin 1 and pin 5 on micro USB. Just wire that into the little 5-volt Chinese special that I've got here, which I've now snipped the end off. And yeah, get that in the car first, then get that wired in, and then yeah, it's just a case of fitting everything up, and we can stand back and enjoy, well, sit back and bask in the glory of our digital dash. Okay, so that's everything wired in. Hopefully you can see this with my head cam on. Cable tied and tidied. I'm leaving these wires loose because that's going to be the second video when we fit the telltales and stuff. The stuff hasn't arrived from Italy, surprise, surprise. So can't do that in this video, but that's probably for the best because it's probably too long anyway. So everything is wired in, ready to go. So we can just fit this up now, drop the tablet in, and then yeah, we are done for now. So there we go, dash is in and done. And if I get my little finger there, turn the screen on and let's load up real dash. He says missing the button completely. Obviously the car's not running, but you get the idea. That is how it's going to look. So thank you for watching. I'll just do a few slow moving, moody shots now, panning shots and stuff as people do in YouTube videos to music. And that is it until the next video when we hopefully drop in the telltales. But thank you for watching. If anyone has any comments or wants any information or whatever about what I've done here, if I've missed anything, then just give me a shout in the comments below or say hello on Instagram. I am solo.lap on there. So yep, that's it for now.